Okay, so um, I was sent a challenge to do in Rust, and it's basically a transaction processor, and the input file for that transaction processor just contains a list of transactions. You have the type of transaction, you have the client, the transaction ID, and also the amount. Basically, what we're supposed to do is um, go through the list of transactions, figure out the balances of the account, and then output the balance of the account at the end. There is a few interesting gotchas in here. So as far as the transactions are concerned, there are a few different types of transactions, right? There's the obvious deposit transaction, which you just put it into the account and increases the value of the account. Um, then there's also the withdrawal, which decreases the value of the account. Um, then you can there's a dispute which can the client can basically dispute the claim, and that will uh, hold the account the funds until it is resolved. And finally, at the end, there's like a chargeback which will reverse the transaction on that particular account. We'll get more into it. I gotta read the actual details of these things. So obviously, like the easy ones are the deposit and withdrawal, so I'm gonna start there. um, but because it's a Rust project, why don't we go ahead and initialize the project here. So I'm gonna just do the cargo init command. Um, there's no dependencies yet, but I'm gonna add a few dependencies. I'll probably have to anyway. Um, right. Um, so we are supposed to provide an input file. So I didn't get an input file for this, right? So I'm just gonna end up having to build my own input file. Looking for the example. Oh, perfect. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna call it transactions CSV. And the reason why it's called transaction CSV is just that it needs to be passed in as a command line parameter, and then the output goes to std out. And then if you wanted to go to a CSV file, you can just do it this way. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I'm gonna just drop these into the CSV file. And I know there's only two types of transactions, so I'm gonna go ahead and also add the other transactions just so we have everything in there. Where is this? Deposit, withdrawal. So there's the, oh yeah, I already have the withdrawal. I guess the dispute is the next one. And resolve is this one. And finally the chargeback. Oh yeah, yeah, this needs the commas because they're not comma separated. So what I was thinking is first, I'll keep the println. I just want to make sure this is running. Also, am I recording? Okay, looks like I am. Cool. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do cargo run. Okay, so it is running. So first things first, I would like to make sure we have you're able to retrieve the file name. So what? So I'm going to do a lot of Googling with this stuff. Right, so we can use the environment variables. No, I don't want this number. There we go. Is this the actual book? Okay, anyway. So you can use std env, and then to get the let args equals env args collect. I think that will give me this as a vector of string, and we can test it out by printing args.join and a space. I just want to print out all of the args. Right, so it just has oh yeah, so I need this. So this is the actual binary file that it's running. That's the first argument, and the second one is the actual file. So in order to get the file name, I'm just going to do let file name equals get the last one, and is that a string? Just going to do unwrap. That's going to get me a string, and what do I get? Oops. Yeah, that's not the right way. I guess that's fine. We're gonna figure that out later. So what we want to do is, high level, just generally speaking, what I want to do is I want to load the file, print each transaction, and later on process each transaction. Okay, it's just the 3 steps that I want to take. So how do we load a file? So because it's a CSV file, we can just use a CSV package. How do we import it? So here's a CSV package. It's pretty popular, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and import it in here. Okay. So load a file, and I'll go to the documentation because from reader, file name, file, how do we, okay, 1 second, Rust CSV file. Functions, reader, Rust reader. One of these should provide file. So it looks like it takes a file. So just use Google. In doubt. Okay. So hopefully I'll find what I'm looking for in one of these. From path. Okay. So IO plus. So we need to import file from IO. That's the file system. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to open this file name, and we can unwrap this. Come on. Alright, going to each transaction. So we want to also import the CSV. In order to do that, let's take a look at Windows. Is this it? Yeah. So the way to do it is to actually, okay, and then we can say CSV, creator, builder, new, from creator file. So I believe you can also do from path. Try it this way. Okay. Cost. Okay, so we have the reader. I'm just gonna. We're still loading the file phase, right? So, right. So, what are we doing here for? Results and records, right? So let's do that. For fill in results, and we can unwrap this one. Results. Unwrap it. And what's this? Result. We have the reader and the records. Why is it complaining? Oh, it needs to be mutable. Okay, let's make it mutable. Record. No, I need that record. I need to print it out. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's give it a shot. So we're expecting to see output of every record that's in the transactions.csv. Looks like it failed. Is that unequal lengths? Once again. Oh, yeah. Shoot. Okay, so the reason why that failed because this one has like 1, 2, 3, 4 records. This one has like 3 records. So obviously, it wasn't able to parse it. I wonder if there's like a way to do that. Unequal lengths. So we get this error because flexible records are disabled. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna make flexible records enabled. So in the builder, make flexible true. Okay, weird. I'm just gonna have to do it before. Okay. So we got everything, and it looks like we're not printing the header, which is a good thing because we don't want to also print the header. That's great. So for each record, we have the output. So yeah, we're printing every. So we were able to print these transactions. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Now we want to be able to process transactions. So before we start processing the transaction, we should try to store it in a struct somehow. So just gonna go ahead and create transaction.rs. That's gonna need a client type. Type is a string for now, and then actually I think type should be like a transaction type, but I'm just gonna start it with a string. It might be easier for me. Client tx and amount. Client is what is it? Client. Oh god, I'm gonna. Oh. Client is UA16, and then transaction is U32, unsigned at 32. Amount. So amount wasn't really specified by this challenge, but it is a decimal that should have like four decimal places. I mean, there's 2 ways to do this. The easier way is to just put F64 and call it a day, and then every time you are serializing and writing it to the disk, you can reduce the float to 4 decimals. Alternatively, you can always convert everything to 128-bit, which means like your 1.5 or your 3.0 gets multiplied by 10,000, bringing it up to 4. Bringing those 4 decimal places into an integer space, and then you do your calculations, and when it's time to output it, you can divide it again. But it's fine. I'm going to just use F64 for now, and maybe evaluate what we can do with U128 later. And it looks like type might be okay. I think type is like a restricted keyword, so I'm just going to call it transaction type, and I'm going to call it this also, transaction type. So pub enum transaction type, and there's 5 transaction types, I believe. There's deposit, withdrawal, There's dispute resolving chargeback. And I think the preferred way is to capitalize it, which is going to be interesting when it comes to serializing this stuff. But that's just the way it is preferred. How come? Main function not found. Is it because it's missing a mod? Because it does have a main function right here. I think I also need like a lib.rs. Oops, sorry. Yeah, no luck. I wonder why. What is the problem? Do I just put in the... Now it's fine. Oh, wait. Maybe I need to just put it back in there. I think I need to do something in main. I need to like import it or something. Let me see. The main, I have to mod. Does that help? Yeah, no luck on that one. What's the problem with this? No, is there a lid there? Right, so let's delete this. Okay. I think I was going off of memory of how this was supposed to be set up. Hopefully the the problems are done at this point. Okay, so we want to be able to serialize this transaction. Could probably use Surdy for this, but I think it's fine. We could probably just you don't actually have to do that anyway. Transaction equals that, and I believe we need to not found in scope. I think it's like we'll use that. I have to like transactions private. Is that okay? I guess so. Okay, cool. Fill the fields. Transaction type is coming in from the record, the very first row. This one is coming from, where is it coming from? The second one, which is index 1. record 2, and then amount is record 3. And this time, instead of printing the record, we can just print the transaction. Right. For us to be able to print this stuff, we need to derive debug. So, and we also need to derive debug here. Then we should be able to print it, but it looks like needs to be a string. Transaction type expected. Oh, right. Because we're using enumerators, we need to do from record 0, and I actually have to implement this because I don't think it implements. Oh, right. Okay. Does that help? Yeah, I'll have to implement the trait, so I'm going to do that in a bit. So I'm going to parse this, right? So U16 from yeah, 1 second. Parse U16. What's this? Oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. So let's try this. So that is, yeah, we have a parse method and then unwrap, but I think we need to give it U16 here. Is that right? Okay, so same thing for transaction, but instead it's U32, and this is records 2, and then same thing here, except this is F64. Right. Implement from trait in Rust. Okay. It's kind of like that. Okay. So from string for transaction type, and what we want to do is we want to say match item, and that should be deposit. Then it is going to be transaction type deposit. If it is withdrawal, hope I spelled it right, withdrawal, and then if it is dispute, resolve So, and then charge back. Charge back. Okay, so I think that should work. Return. Am I supposed to do this? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, right, because, yeah, okay, cool. So it's also a good idea to test our code while we're writing it, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple of tests. I don't always remember the syntax. Yeah, perfect. So I need this. So I'm going to add one hello test. I'm not going to do anything. I'll just print. Test, right? Just want to make sure that cargo test. Right. Why is this? It's not implemented. I guess I need to do that maybe. Okay, cool. Okay, so we have yeah, shoot. So just want to panic saying not a valid transaction type. And we can format it to include that. Oh, okay, maybe I can do that. Forget this. Does this work? No. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw an error saying it's not a valid type. So, what are we testing for? We want to test for two things. We want to test that if you provide a valid string into the transaction type enumerator, it will convert it. And if you provide an invalid type, it should basically panic. So let's do that. So we have test function should parse valid transaction type, and that is transaction type equals transaction type from deposit, and then we can do assert matches deposit, and then we can run our test. Cool. So yeah, it worked. And then we want to also test for something else. We want to test that it should panic if invalid. Okay. How do I make sure I test panics? I remember there's like, oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. There's like a should panic thing on there. So all we have to do here is just say like let tx type equals transaction type from or does not exist, and that's going to end up panicking. So yeah, so there we go. So we have the 3 tests that are there, so we know that so obviously I'm not going to test for every single item of these things, but we could. It's a bit tedious, but anyway, so we know that we can get the transaction type out of this one. So I'm going to run my code again, yeah, with the CSV, and it should basically print out everything. Invalid digit. Wait, before I print out the transaction, I want to actually also print out the record, so I can figure out like where that. The heck? Oh, I'm gonna put it before this one. I think the error is happening somewhere in here, so I'm not gonna get to the line beyond it. So yeah, it looks like there's a space. Sorry, my eyes are tired. It's I don't know why. It's also a hot room here, so. But I do want to finish this and get past it. So yeah, obviously we gotta trim this because we have an extra space in front. We might have an extra space in the back as well. So for the same trim, yeah, we just basically trim all of them, and then let's go ahead and run it again. So hopefully this time around it should yeah, it didn't work. Got through all the deposits, but it failed on the disputes. Right, oh shoot, yeah, oh, it's okay. So the reason why is like obviously there's 4 items here, right, and there's only 1, 2, 3 items here, so yeah, that's gonna be a problem. So I guess the stupid way to do this is to actually first we need to make this option so it can exist, or it could be something or nothing. And what we want to do is say record dot len. Yeah, I'm just going to do it the that not so smart way. I'm just going to match the length to 4. If that's the case, we're going to return the actual value. Otherwise, just make it none. Oh yeah, some. Okay. So I think we got through everything. We were able to print the entire transaction type, and we're also printing the original. Sorry, we're also printing the original hello world. I'm just gonna leave it in here. In the end, though, we do want to avoid using print lines because everything's gonna get piped into the output.csv. So these print lines are just gonna cause issues. So I'm actually gonna get rid of them now. I don't think we want to have it, but instead of print, I'm going to also use a logging library in Rust. That way we can set the log levels and yeah. So let's import okay, yeah, that's what I want. I want version 4. I'm just gonna get rid of this. Get me the entire log4 library. And then I want to see if there is a log level. Max level debug, max level trace. Yeah, so I'm just gonna use max level debug. Wait, how? Features. Actually, I'm gonna copy this. Shit. Release warn. That's fine. Just. Is there a way to log to a file? Maybe simple log. I don't want to use that. I want to just use this one. Oh, that's even better. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna use simple logger. I prefer just the ability to log to a file, just because we're tying the standard out to, the output itself. So, yeah. So simple logging. Let's copy this. Simple logging. And maybe we also need the logger because we have to import that. So, how did they say we gotta use it? Use log filter level and. Let's do that, sure. I'm gonna put all my stuff in the bottom, and all the imports up top. Log to file. Then how do we use this afterwards? Whatever. I'm just gonna use the logging library for now, and then just set that max debug. So to test it real quick, I'm going to use log. Okay. Where's my logging? Right. I'm gonna bring in info. Use log info. Yeah. And then error more. So, and also debug. Okay, so let's try this. Debug hello from debug. And then I'll do the same thing from error. Actually, no, I want to do the same thing from so is there a trace? Yeah, there's a trace. Alright, hello from debug, hello from info, hello from warn. Okay, so let's see. Right at the very beginning, the heck? How come it's not printing? Maybe I'll remove this. That's strange. Okay, whatever. Why is it not logging? enabled. Anyway, I'm not gonna bother with this. I'm just gonna print what I need to print and come back to this logging. It's gonna waste a bunch of time for me. I'm just gonna say log. It would be nice to log stuff to file, especially because we can't rely on println. So anyway, why isn't it logging? Is there something I need to bring in? Maybe there's... No? Anyway, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I would love to have logging implemented so it goes to a file, but it's gonna take a significant amount of time and a bunch of detours. I would rather figure out the actual. No. So we got our transactions. So the way I see this playing out is we need to have some kind of transaction processor, and the preferred way I was thinking of doing is just creating a just call it new, and this transaction processor has all the transactions in it. Where is my file? It has all the transactions stored in such a way that they're in a hash map, and you use the transaction ID as the key for it. And you do the same thing for the accounts, because we want to be able to pull the account rather quickly, because sometimes when this is fine, right? Like when you're doing a deposit, where is it? Okay, when you're doing a deposit, you know what account you're depositing it to, but you need to know what the like the status of that account, whether it's locked or whether the funds are available. So you want to be able to pull that rather quickly. This is just going to act as my database, which is all done in memory for now. Ideally, you are making API calls to a database somewhere. Yeah, I don't think you'll be using cache for this. But anyway, it's all in memory because the data is coming in. We'll try to process it record at a time, but it would be stored in the database. Maybe I'll approach it in a way. Yeah, maybe I'll have like a few methods in the transaction processor that's like get transaction and get account, and that can really be anything, right? It can just be like talking to a database in theory, but it's just talking to something in memory right now. Just putting a SQLite database now with this project may be a bit overkill, but yeah. So there is no transaction processor. I'm going to go ahead and create a file. rs struct transaction processor. As I mentioned, it has accounts, and that is a hash map, and it also has transactions, and it's a string. No, it's not a string, it's a U32 and transaction. the actual transaction itself. Do I need commas maybe? Oh yeah, perfect. And this is also a U16 and then account. So I didn't actually declare a struct for the account, so I'm going to do that now. Okay. And the account is supposed to have, here's my output. Right, it's client available, held, total, and locked. So let's do that. Okay, so client is U16, available is F64, held is F64, total is F64, and locked is Boolean. Okay, and then this is supposed to be a public one, and I want to make sure we have mod count mod transaction processor, so we are able to use them. Can I import this? HashMap. Yeah, use collections HashMap, that's what I want. Okay, and then so that's good. Transaction, let's also import it. Great. Oh, so it's going to have a couple of methods, and the first one is new. That's going to return the self. It's returning transaction processor with HashMap. I don't want to use that. Okay. I'm doing the same thing here. Is that okay? No. Oh, right. I'm supposed to use HashMap new. Are we okay now? Okay, cool. So the way it's supposed to work, at least the way I see it, is that we've already parsed this transaction, right? And what we're gonna do is maybe we can break it out into a method, because it's like a lot of anyway, we could probably convert the transaction in the same style as doing like transaction type from and record. You can always take it like transaction and use a string record to convert it to a transaction. Like, actually, you know what? Maybe we will. So we can just do like from and then pass in like record. But I'll do that in the end. So I'm gonna just have a to do here. From. So I want to be able to do that, and then that way you break all of this into a single line, and then you can even do like tests in the transaction file, right? Okay, so you can then say processor dot inaccessible. Oh yeah, up. No, not there. Up. Is that what I'm looking for? Oh, perfect. Okay, so we have this transaction type. Then we can say like processor dot process transaction. And then you just pass in the transaction, right? So we need something here, and that is public function process transaction. That's going to take in self, and it's going to take in the transaction. And yeah, so we're over here. What we want to do is every single transaction, we want to be able to store it in here as we're processing it. So we have like we're building our little database in memory for the transaction. So self dot transactions dot insert, and then the key is transaction dot tx, and then the actual item is transaction. So it's going to not like it. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we go ahead and insert it, and then what we want to do is, depending on the type of transaction it is, we want to do the actual processing, right? So we'll just say match transaction dot type, right, typo. And then it will ask me for the arm, so I can just go ahead and do that. Oof. I prefer to actually import that too. Yeah, there we go. Then we can close off. We don't need this. Then we can just say like process deposit, and then for this one it's going to be process withdrawal. Oh my god. Yeah, my eyes are tired. Okay, anyway. Self dot process dispute. Process resolved. What this means is now these methods are not public. Process deposit self. I want the transaction here. So withdrawal, dispute, and we can actually start chargeback. We can actually write tests now on each of these just for fun. Transaction withdrawal. We probably should, because every time it's related to like something important like transactions and money, it's important to write a bunch of tests. There's no way around it. Could be a right, it's private. I believe this is public. Cool. So we are clear here. Processor. I might have to. It does not implement the copy trait. I feel like the easy way to. Oh wait, maybe I need to fix this problem first. Yeah, it's got to be mutable, like that, like that, and then it's complaining about a moved value. Shoot, transaction type. Maybe I can just say if I do that and then use this, will that be happy? It is not happy. Oh boy, oh, why would that be? Maybe I should put that up top? No, it doesn't make transaction, and that's because it value partially moved. Okay, let me see if I can. This is a not so fun part about Rust. I'm just gonna comment this out. I'll come back to this one. I'm not sure what to do with that, so I'm just gonna say transaction dot transaction type. So we have a deposit, right? So what we want to do is for the deposit, we want to get the account associated with it. And I remember reading here that if the account doesn't exist, I want to be able to create. Yeah, if a client doesn't exist, I know it's not easy to read actually. That would be way easier to read. Just gonna throw it in here. Okay. Create. Yeah, so if a client doesn't exist, we're free to create a new one, right? So that's going to be coming in here. So I'm going to say self get or create account, and then transaction dot client is the account that I'm going to try to find. So this is the function. I'm going to put it up here. It's internal. I don't plan on letting anyone else use this. So client is U16, and what we're going to do is let account option equals self. Right. I also need self. Self dot get accounts get client, and oops, it's this one. Yeah, I know I need mutable. It's gonna ask me how to do it, but okay. Anyway, okay, so we have account option, and then what we're gonna do is match option to sum account, and then we can return the account. So that's because we want to return the actual account, and then we can it's none. Then we have to add the insert into the client the new account. So let's do that. Let's create a new account, and then once that is completed, actually let's add a new account, and then we're going to return account. Do we want to do this instead? Yeah, I don't want to get into the life cycle stuff. Okay. Right, new doesn't exist, so let's go to the account and let's implement account new self okay. I don't like using this, so I'm gonna just I'm gonna make sure that the client ID is required, so it's going to be 16. I'm gonna set that here. Client, let's probably going to ask me to shorthand it. Okay, that's fine. Let's do that. Available is nothing. Held is nothing. Total is nothing. And locked is false. We are not locking an account as it starts, right? Okay. So we save it, and then we can save this. So far, so good. What's going on here? It's not even a copy trait. No. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with this. This is a mutable account anyway. So what I'm going to do is account dot close. And then maybe I have to use this. Yep, that is not public, so let's make these public. So right, and we have you know what, I'm just gonna ignore that. I think I'm having some issues with this particular approach. I will try to do this on my own time later. I think it doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to use new, and then I can pass in my client right here, and that should be making it happy. Yeah. I guess it really needs the copy trait. Fine, I'll just do that. Go over here. I'm going to set this to, I'm just going to say derive right, so it's square brackets. Might as well put clone in there too. Okay, so now I can just say client 16 and then do it that way. Then I can ask for the client to be passed in. So we don't need the mutable. Oh yeah, and then we need a mutable stuff here. Right. Okay. So is it this one maybe? Pretty sure it's supposed to be like that if you want to mutate it. But we can test that. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. So we do want to test, right? So let me copy where I had some tests. Yeah, so let's copy that stuff. and we're gonna add a couple tests. How much time has passed? I'm not sure. 1 hour. Okay. It's gonna be slower because I'm adding a bunch of tests anyway. So my idea was to try to get it done in a couple hours, but we'll see. Maybe 3 hours. But we'll see. So get rid of the solo world test. We don't need the transaction type, but we do need transaction processor, and should create new account, and then transaction processor new processor accounts dot assert that the length is 0, and then we can say processor dot get or create account 100, and then we can see that the length should be 1 in the end there, and then we can get rid of this stuff because we don't need this particular test. So what's the problem here? Yeah. Immutable processing methods. Shoot. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna make everything mutable. Replace, 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 and replace a bunch of that. Okay, so let me run my test, please. And could not. Line 37. I think that's over here. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. I just want to test this out. That we are creating a brand new. Should create a new account. Okay, cool. And then existing account, right? This is going to be let node processor equals transaction processor, and that's going to be accounts. Give me everything in here. Right, but instead let node accounts is a hash map of U16 and count. Not this type. Come on. Okay. So let's do that. And then we can say import it, and then import it. Counts, insert 100, count, here, and 100. Okay. So far, so good. And what we want to do is we want to say process let return count equals processor dot get or create account 100, assert that return account dot client equals 100. So yeah, should return existing account, and we might as well also print. We are testing that it's there. I mean, obviously, if nothing came through, well, no, that's not true. I want to create a new account, but it's this, right? I want to say account dot available funds or 5.0. So we want to see that it's true, yeah, but we also want to make sure that the available funds are 5.0. That's kind of the real test. Oh shoot. Right. Yeah, okay, so that's good. So that then if the account already exists and the transaction processor is going to end up returning those things. So so far so good. Now this was failing because I think it needed to have that. So it will just start processing every single transaction, and then we can start implementing these methods over here. So how do we process a deposit, right? The preferred way I would prefer is to just say account dot deposit transaction dot amount, and still recording. So I'm just gonna check. Okay, yeah, it's still going. Okay, cool. Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to pass this the amount, but we know that the amount for deposit is always going to exist. So we're just going to unwrap it and then send the actual deposit amount of F64, right? So account and hub function deposit self, oh, it's immutable, mute self amount is 4. It doesn't do anything, but it's always good to have some tests. So let's go ahead and we can add a couple of tests to this stuff. Yeah, let's copy this, and we will add a couple of tests. We want the account, and should increment the increment funds after deposit, right? Okay, so, and we don't need this right now, so we just close it. So account net account right, and then the client ID is 100. Just use 100 as an easy one. Account dot deposit I don't know, 250.0, and we want to check that account dot available funds are equal to 250. Right, so I'm just gonna amount. Oh, I can't use. I mean, like TypeScript mode. Anyway, amount. So that's the first check. But I think there's another stuff there. There's like another variable here we care about, right? We want to make sure that the total and held are also tested. So we'll do that as well. So held is 0, and then total is equal to amount. So I feel like total should really be. I'm curious if Rust supports like getters. I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this total because I think that should be a function and it's going to return 64 and it's returning self dot available. 1 second. What is total funds? Available plus held are the total funds. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna actually I want to edit this so I can read it a little bit easier. Yeah, just make it. Okay. I feel this reads maybe easier. Okay, there we go. Available funds are everything. That's like available for like trading, staking, and withdrawal. This should be total minus held. Held is what's for dispute, and then total funds are available or held. So yeah, maybe getter is not the best way to do it. I think it's better to just total is amount. Okay. So let's run our test and we will fail it because of okay. Yeah, so yep, so we're failing increment funds after deposit, right? All right. So we're gonna do self.available dot. So if we just keep adding funds at some point, we're gonna end up overflowing. So there's like a method called checked. There should be a method called oh, F64 doesn't have it. Interesting. You know, this was U128. Could I have added? Yeah, I could have checked add in there. Alright, I'm going to take the time to actually convert this to U128. So I prefer to have the ability to save items. The amount is transaction. This is 128. And it's not going to like it here as well. Yeah, no, I'm just going to stick to one F64 and then figure out a way to add. Yeah. We gotta also watch out for overflow. Yeah, I definitely want to get back to use U128 instead of. Now, the reason why I think F64 is safe to convert it to U128 is just this this challenge over here. It's talking about credit card payments. So I'm gonna assume these are like credit card stuff, and nobody has like enough money to, at least even if they did, they wouldn't be able to use a credit card to make that large of a purchase that it wouldn't be parsed by a F64. So that's my reasoning. I'm just gonna write it somewhere. F64 should be. Okay. Then obviously if it's like a wallet, then depending on the number of decimals you have in the wallet, it could have overflows. But if it's just credit card payments, then I think we're fine. Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about that. So wanted to, where was I? Yeah, right, tests. Right, so let's take a look. Failed, and the reason why it failed is because line 41. Yeah, total funds don't actually add up, so we'll do the same thing. Self.total dot add assign amount. Okay. So we're good here. We're able to increment, and we'll go ahead and start implementing the other methods as well on the processor side. So we want to process a withdrawal. So what does that withdrawal look like over here? It's a client, it's a transaction ID, and then the amount that's being withdrawn. So let's read a little bit more. What if they don't have enough funds to withdraw? Withdraw deposit into the account it should increase the available and the total available funds. We've done that. Withdrawal is a debit to the asset account, meaning it should decrease the available and total funds. If there are not funds available, it should fail, and then the total funds should not change. Okay. Now, I don't know if I should, but I do want to keep like a success or fail, because one of the problems this could happen is like we have a withdrawal and that fails, and it would be asked to be disputed. The withdrawal would be disputed, and if the withdrawal is resolved, then, well, I guess even then, like you still want to make sure you have enough funds. It's like, let's say you deposit like $1 and you withdraw like $4 and you don't have enough money. Later on, you withdraw you deposit $4. Now you have $5. You put in a request to dispute the original withdrawal for $4, and then that is now approved. If you have $5, it'll be processed. Yeah, there's a few weird edge cases that can definitely happen. I should think a little bit more about that. But in any case, I want to write down. Is there my to-do here? Edge cases. I think this file should be. Let's put it as markdown. Yeah. One. Dispute px2, and then 10 resolve 3, then it'll actually withdrawal should succeed, because you actually have funds. And let's say withdraw fails, dispute 2, and then deposit 1, withdraw should fail, because you just don't have the funds right now. But I definitely need to I wish I had someone to talk to a little bit more to elaborate on the actual parameters of this challenge, but I'm just going to go based on my assumptions here. Process the withdrawal. Yeah, okay, so transaction, right. Same thing. Getter create account, transaction dot client account dot withdraw that. There. So we don't have a withdraw method now. So let's do that. Let's go in here. Right, before we write anything, we want to say, like, I have a couple of tests, right? Withdraw should fail if insufficient funds. So I'm going to go ahead and seed this account with available funds are 250. 150, sure. And same thing. Actually, wait. Account dot deposit 100. Right, and then we want to do account dot withdraw the amount, and then we want to assert that account dot total equals 100, and the same thing with the available. That should just not work, really. It's going to pass because obviously withdraw is not doing anything, but we are going to implement it anyway. So all right, so we're going to actually implement the other method now. Withdraw should fail, right? We want to say withdraw should succeed. And then we are going to put in 1,000, and the expectation is it is 1,000 minus amount. Minus amount. All right. Yeah. If succeed, if sufficient funds. So let's go ahead and implement this. So if what are the rules here? Available funds. So we're going to always check against the available funds, right? Okay. So if self.available funds are greater than or equal to amount, then we're going to withdraw. Otherwise, we're just not going to. I'm not going to log it because it's going to break my logic at the very end while building the accounts.csv. So yeah, self.available equals sub assign amount. The same thing. We're going to decrement the total amount as well. Doesn't need parentheses. Okay, we'll remove parentheses. So I feel that is good. Okay, awesome. So what's next? We want to implement the disputed transaction. Right. Disputed transactions are referring to other transactions. So first thing we want to do is to make sure that we're able to retrieve that other transaction, right? So let disputed, can we even get that disputed transaction? So we are going to get this. So match disputed transaction to some transaction, and we'll do some stuff with it. Otherwise, none. We're not doing anything. It's done, right? We can't do that. Okay, so this is my transaction. We also want to check that not only does the disputed transaction exist, is it actually associated to that user. So we want to say if transaction dot client is not equal to, well, we want to make sure, we just want to do it that it does it client, then we will do account dot dispute. Well, we need to get the account now. Get our create account. All right, that's the, yeah. And then we can say account dot dispute the funds of the found disputed transaction. I'm going to rename this to disputed transaction opt, and then this is going to be disputed tx. This is going to be tx. It's so long, these variable name. So yeah, dot amount dot unwrap. Okay, so what about dispute? So we're basically ignoring it, and it looks like the held funds should increase by the amount disputed, while the total funds should remain the same. And also the available funds will also decrease. So let's go ahead and implement this. Account dispute right. So if, well, still want to make sure that the funds are available, right? So if self.available funds are greater than the amount, then your available dot we're doing that, and then we're saying self dot held dot add sign, right? And that's kind of what we're doing. If you don't have enough funds to dispute that, then I need to think about how I think there's not any description about checking for the funds if they exist, so we'll just do the dispute. I'll read it one more time. It shouldn't be reversed yet, but the funds should be held, and we're doing that. We're doing that by decreasing the available funds and then increasing the funds held. And then the rest are, yeah, okay, that's fine. I think okay with that. So we want to just, we should have written the test first, but that's okay. Decrease. All right, so let's create our account for client 100. The amount is 250. Let's deposit 1,000. And then, so I mean, there's always, what if available amount is, at this point, what if the available amount is negative? So I'm not sure, but I'm just going to pretend that problem is not, doesn't exist for now and just keep going. And I'm going to come back to figure this out to do, that's what I'm going to call it. Okay. So, we're going to deposit this, and then it's account dot dispute the amount. And then we are expecting total funds to be right. Okay. Total funds to be total, and that to be total minus amount, and we expect the funds held to be amount. And we also want to double check that total is count dot available plus count dot held. So let's do the test here. Just use this because they're the same value. Yeah, that's easier. Borrow. I could bring the account in up here, and then I know that there's no borrows happening, so at this point I can dispute it. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so dispute. I'm really concerned about this one, but anyway. Resolve. If the transaction doesn't exist, we ignore it. Resolve represents a resolution of a dispute. Releasing the held funds that were previously disputed are no longer disputed. This means that the held funds should decrease and their available funds will increase, and their total funds will remain the same. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to do a similar test. Obviously, copy pasting is going to come back to bite me, so I'm going to just remove some of these errors. So, assert. So, we are going to dispute the amount, and then we're going to resolve the. Actually, let's do this. We're going to do a disputed amount, and we're going to do a resolved amount. And they can be different, and that's fine. Just 50. Resolved amount. And what that's going to do is like the total is going to change, is going to stay the same, and this is going to stay the same. The held amount is going to be, it's not the disputed amount, it's actually disputed amount minus resolved amount, and then this available amount is total minus disputed amount. Wait. Total minus the disputed amount plus the resolved amount minus the, I think that should be the right one. We don't have a method for resolve, so we're going to implement it now. Held is going to decrease. It's basically the opposite of dispute on whatever amount you need. So right, resolve, that's why you don't copy paste. Resolve should decrease held and increase the available funds. So let's do a test. Resolve should decrease the held and increase the available funds. So total is the same as the total that we originally put in. It is the same as the available plus held. Held one is you decrease it by the resolved amount, and then available is basically total minus disputed, which is originally what was held, and then you add the resolved amount to it. Okay. Chargeback is the final state of a dispute, and it represents a reversing of a transaction. Funds that were held okay. So let's do the simple one first. Let's do a test and say chargeback should freeze account, right? We are going to again take the standard stuff, and we're going to say account dot charge back amount okay. Chargeback amount, and we want to check that that is locked. So we don't have a chargeback method implemented, so let's do that. had to check my emails. Might have to pause this session short and then come back to continue, but I do want to finish this chargeback before I do that. Let's see. Right, we were setting this to locked, so let's go ahead and test it. Okay, so that's the first test. The second test is it's the final state of a dispute and represents the client reversing a transaction. So do we know anything about locked? So I'm pretty sure you can't withdraw anymore after it is locked, so I want to make sure that like I would say like we would ignore all transactions after that point and just kind of log it. Theoretically, you want to know that it's still happening. You don't want to silently just, you know, leave it. So anyway, so chargeback. State of a dispute and represents client reversing a transaction that's out of the control of the company, right? So it's done through the credit card company instead. Funds that are held have now been withdrawn. This means that the client's held funds and total funds should decrease by the amount previously disputed. Okay. Total and held, that means available funds decrease. Oh no, we already decreased the available funds. So total is decreased. And held amount is also decreased. So we're going to do the same test again. This time we're going to also say account dot total is equal to total minus chargeback amount. Right, so account dispute 100, and then sorry, we want to dispute the chargeback amount, and then we're going to do a chargeback off that. So total is the total minus the chargeback, and held is zero because we don't have any held. Right. Chargeback should decrease let's try one more time. Okay. So we don't need this file yet. We're loading the file later. So after we've done processing the transaction, we want to accounts. Oh, right, I didn't actually do this stuff. Shoot. Okay, so we'll do that. Hold on. long has it been? It's been about 2 hours. You know, I'm gonna take a quick pause here. I do have a few errands, so I'm gonna come back over here and just start again. And when I'm back, I'm gonna implement the two process resolve and the chargeback methods. And we are going to run a quick test. We are going to make sure that the processor returns the accounts, and then we will write that to console, stand it out, which will end up getting stored into the accounts.csv file. And just go through the other edge cases we've come across, and we might come across some more edge cases as we start testing this stuff, because I'm not just going to run this file. I'm going to build a little bit larger file. It's going to take a little bit more time to kind of talk through and start putting stuff together. So yeah, so I'm back. We are going to create a new file. So when I'm back, write accounts to CSV, then into .csv file, implement methods in processor, seed data into transactions.csv, and think about edge cases. Okay, so I'm not gonna bother saving this, but anyway, I'll be back to do this stuff in about, I don't know,